Seeing his comrade Matthias's body after he'd been brutally tortured and killed, police detective Jimenez's blood boils. At Matthias's funeral, his colleagues Wessam, Tony, and his lover Aurora gather along with Jimenez to pay their respects. Not ready to let it go, the first thing they do after the funeral is hunt down the notorious Marcutis gang that was involved in Matthias's death. After some bottle-to-the-head action, Jimenez and Aurora torture a man to tell them the location of the gang. He's reluctant initially, but when Aurora breaks his nose, he spills the beans and a lot of blood. They reach the location and find it's an abandoned high-rise building. High on adrenaline and seeking revenge, the four gear up to eliminate anybody who gets in their way. Clad in all black and balaclavas, the four sneakily make their way into the building. When they see someone guarding the entrance, Wessam knocks him out, but the crazy one in the group, Jimenez, asserting that it needs to be a bloodbath, shoots the man dead, saying it's necessary. On their way in, they run into a man who claims to be the owner of the building and a woman who looks in despair. But they're not important and get ignored. The group is preparing to blow up the door of the apartment the gang is supposedly in, but just then the supposed owner of the building comes with his pellet gun to witness the showdown. This leads to Jimenez trying his best not to yell at him, but he's overheard, and someone from inside the apartment shoots through the door, which fatally injures Jimenez. One of the bullets happens to trigger the bomb, which leads to a blast injuring Tony. The three are left helpless when Adewale Mercudi and his hot-headed brother Bola, accompanied by their ultra-violent henchman Jose, come out armed and drag the four inside. They interrogate them and increase their guard, suspecting an entire force must be coming to get them. But they're amazed and surprised that even cops can be as foolish, since it was only the four of them who came along to take out their much larger gang. When Adewale finds out why the four are there, he shows no mercy and shoots Jimenez dead. They're expecting to hear sirens, but instead hear growls from the other room, where lies their recent victim. One of Adewale's men opens the door only to be attacked and eaten by the man who was clearly dead a few minutes ago. He doesn't seem to be human anymore and has turned into a man-eating zombie. The gang goes on a shooting spree and empties their cartridges, but it doesn't do anything except put holes in the zombie. Amidst fist-throwing and kicking, Adewale blows the zombie's head off, which finally stops him. Even the gang's guards realize something is wrong, and after locking themselves inside the building, they notice a storm approaching with shadows that are faster than lightning. Their worst nightmare comes true when the men the zombie just killed start transforming into more zombies. To save themselves, Adewale, Bola, Jose, Wessam, Tony, and Aurora run to the terrace while the zombies, unaffected by the bullets, chase after them. They somehow manage to jam the door, and when they turn, they're baffled to find themselves in the middle of what looks like an apocalypse. To make matters worse, the building is surrounded by a horde of zombies, hissing at each other like a bunch of kittens. They're all shaken and Bola has another panic attack as the three gangsters decide to make a run for it. But Wessam makes a deal out of the blue. Against Aurora and Tony's wishes, he proposes an alliance to increase their chances of getting out of there alive, even though they hate each other. Adewale sees merit in his proposal and agrees to work together. Together, they make it back to Adewale's hiding spot to gear up with weapons they have in their reserves. Aurora isn't happy with the collaboration and argues with Wessam, blaming him for the mess. But Wessam plays Uno reverse and says she started this all by calling Matthias every night, crying that she's pregnant while he was on the lookout. This messed up his head and he ended up dead. But they don't have time to play the blame game, so they focus on escaping. They cautiously make their way through the corridor, with Aurora supporting a heavily drugged Tony, courtesy of Bola and Jose, who shared the powder with him to help ease his pain. They suddenly get attacked by a zombie that goes after Tony and Aurora follows to save him. Meanwhile, Adewale, Wessam, and Bola make it to the staircase, but Jose gets cornered. Staying true to his ultra-violent nature, he takes on two zombies head-on and beats them MMA style. Real good before being rescued by Bola. But before they can close the door, more zombies make their way to the door and grab Bola's leg, who starts yelling and calling for his brother to help. Adewale uses a shotgun to blow up the zombies and rescue his over-the-top brother. Wessam, however, tries to go back for Tony and Aurora but gets stopped by Adewale. Elsewhere, Aurora is whooping another zombie's butt in the most exaggerated way and ends up crushing the zombie under a refrigerator. She walks back to Tony, who doesn't look good, as he's been bitten by the zombie. Adewale and the gang run into a survivor and resident of the building, testing the sharpness of his pickaxe on some unresponsive zombies. He's one of a kind who admits he blew up some zombies using handmade explosives. He immediately notices Jose has been bitten in the leg and asks them to accompany him so he can take care of the wound. And by taking care of the wound, he means cutting it off. They get into an argument, with Gramps ready to sever Jose's leg in one swoop, while Jose and Bola threaten to shoot Gramps if he does so. Wessam finally yells for everyone to stop as Adewale laughs in the corner. The group sits at the table and listens to the news about the situation around the city. It's announced that the survivors are gathered outside the capital and then sent to a military base. Tony and Aurora are still trying to find a way to regroup with the rest when Aurora notices Tony's wound getting infected. She knows she has to make a tough decision and takes Tony at gunpoint, asking him to cuff himself because at this point he's as good as dead. But Tony doesn't want to die there and retaliates by smacking Aurora with a shotgun, which sends her flying, and she ends up unconscious after her head smashes against a mirror. Aurora wakes up in immense pain but somehow picks herself up and cleans her wounds. She's determined to survive. At Gramps' apartment, Bola and Gramps are in an argument about their future course of action. Gramps wants to get out and join other survivors, while Bola is concerned Jose won't be able to run if they venture out. So they do what seems right to them, inhale some powder and, on a high, venture out screaming. They soon encounter a woman zombie and Gramps, Jose, and Bola take their time teasing her. This irks Adewale, and he screams at Bola to knock some sense into him and remind him of the atrocities they experienced in their homeland under the hands of foreigners. Just then, Tony walks in and Wessam is happy to see him, but not for long because Aurora follows and shoots Tony in the head, killing him instantly. Wessam is enraged and asks why she did it, to which Aurora replies he had changed quite literally. As soon as they open the elevator door, Jose and Bola take everyone hostage. Adewale and Bola get into a feud, with Bola having enough of being pushed around by his big brother. He states he'll survive without Adewale and leaves in the elevator with Jose after stripping everyone of their weapons. Left with no choice, Adewale leaves with Wessam, Gramps, and Aurora to find weapons, but they're in for a surprise, because an entire horde of hungry zombies have invited themselves to an all-you-can-eat buffet. They quickly make their way to a security guard's room where they find military-grade weapons. After gearing themselves with rifles, guns, machetes, and grenades, they run as the queue to the all-you-can-eat buffet gets longer, and the zombies break open the doors. The group runs to the parking lot where Adewale finds the guns Bola and Jose took from them. He frantically looks for Bola and finds Jose, who has turned into a full-fledged zombie, feeding upon Bola. Enraged, Adewale starts shooting at Jose, but when that doesn't satisfy him, he smashes Jose's face on a pillar to give him a bloody makeover. They soon find they're surrounded by a swarm of zombies and decide to run to the basement. Wessam suddenly decides to stay back and sacrifice himself so he can stall the zombies while Gramps, Aurora, and Adewale make a run for it, which is totally unnecessary because all Wessam did was play tackle with the zombies, till he was surrounded and the guns he carried more or less remained inefficient against the zombies. Meanwhile, the trio have another horde of zombies chasing them, which makes Wessam's sacrifice mostly in vain. They make it to the exit door, struggling and battling for their lives. But things don't come that easy in a state of emergency, so of course, the exit door is jammed, and Adewale and Aurora try their best to open it, while Gramps empties his gun on the zombies. But when 100 more zombies pour in, Gramps asks for the grenade from Aurora, because his retirement plans have changed. He wants to go out with a blast, and that's exactly what he does. He blows himself up along with the zombies while Aurora and Adewale make it out of the door and building in the nick of time. Now daylight as they catch their breath from having escaped the horde of zombies, still fueled by her need for vengeance. Aurora puts the gun to Adewale's head and shoots him dead, thus taking her revenge. All that running for nothing, because now that she has had her revenge, she waits to be devoured, as zombies can be heard in the distance, fast approaching. That wraps up our recap of the horror flick The Horde. Don't forget to subscribe to keep up with more heart-pounding content. We'd love to hear your thoughts on our awesome playlist.